We have a hymn for gathering today, and we're going to sing it without any accompaniment. But I think it's one that most people know. It's Spirit of Life. It's in the hymnal, number 123. If you like, I can sing it through for anybody who doesn't know. Is there anybody who doesn't know this song or doesn't know the tune? Here you go. I will sing it through one time, or we'll all sing it through one time, and then we'll sing it through a second time for anybody who needs to pick up the tune. So, let's see. Starts like this. Spirit. Is that right? Is that the good note? Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Root hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Lovely, thank you.
Welcome, welcome everybody to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. Welcome here for 2023, a new year to start. We are a church who welcomes everyone without regard to race, gender identity, sexual identity, theological persuasions. We are here to be here with each other and in service to the local community. We have some announcements. They're in your order of service, or if you're joining us online, they're printed. I'll briefly note them. It's January 7th, so that's just 6 days away. We have the 12 to 2, the craft workshop. Anybody who wants to do this joins with Linda, and you do your thing and enjoy what each other is doing. Our legacy campaign to pay down the mortgage continues. Do you have an announcement about that?
No, it says the next updates on our campaign will be January 4th in the newsletter and January 8th in the Sunday service.
All right. I see Lori here and I want to get her up front, but anyway. We're winding down this drive at the end of January, so please consider a contribution soon if you wish to add to this legacy campaign. Of course, additional contributions will be accepted later, anytime. Just remember, if you're writing a check, to put on the memo line that it is for the mortgage pay down, or the legacy campaign, however you prefer to put that. Readers, the next book club meeting is in January 28th, so you've got a while to read. How to Be Perfect, the correct answer to every moral question. Right, okay. It'll be on Zoom, and the Zoom information will be in the newsletter. And check out the newsletter for information on our weekly religious exploration offerings, like Wednesday's Thinking About Theology and Thursday evening conversations. Other items in our newsletter: legacy campaign updates, the new marketing team that's forming, and you can subscribe with the QR code. If you are of a previous, age and know how to use this, congratulations. If you're a current person, I'm sure you do know how. I do not. Have no other announcements that I know of. Does anybody else have an announcement? Yes, Linda.
I just want to add a couple words about the craft group. So it is intended for people who know crafts, or also people who are interested in learning a craft. I know there are quite a few people that have different skills. I have knitters, crocheters, painters, different kinds of things. And so it's not only just to share our creativity and share our skills. We're going to be looking at ways that we can use our creative abilities to create things that are going to be able to put out in the community. And I know there's at least one person who's knitting hats to give to the homeless shelters, warm hats for the homeless shelters. So we welcome you to come on Saturdays. We will be changing the date because starting in February, VITA, the tax preparation group, is going to be here on Saturdays. So we're going to change to another day. We haven't decided what that's going to be yet, but possibly Sunday afternoons after church. Anyway, thank you.
I'm going to invite our singing bowl to sound. We mark the transition from our everyday lives into this sacred space of our service today. Suzanne has our chalice lighting words, and Indy's going to light the chalice for us. Thank you, Indy.
Yes, Cindy's going to light the chalice for us. Our chalice lighting words, here, are actually in the hymnal. I'd wanted to look them up, and then I discovered it's a poem of Alfred Lord Tennyson's. It's actually in the hymnal, although I don't think we ever sing it. Ring out, wild bells, to the wild, wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying. In the night, ring out, wild bells, and let it die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring, happy bells, across the snow. The year is going, let it go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was perfect. I'm going to ask us to read a responsive reading together. It's in the hymnal, number 544. Seems like forever since we've done a responsive reading. But I thought this one, it was a good one for today, since it is New Year's Day, and it happens to fall on a Sunday today, so it just works out so beautifully. I'll just have to say something a little bit about responsive readings. Usually people kind of slow down to try and make sure that they stay exactly in sync with everybody else, and it kind of gets slower and slower. I just encourage you to just read it at your own pace, and if people are going a little bit faster or slow, I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap between each one to let people catch up. So don't worry about making sure that everybody is absolutely in union with the speaking. Just try and do it at a natural pace, and we'll see how it works out. I will read the ordinary writing, and if you would read the squiggly writing, or the italics, as we say, we'll get through it together. New Year's Day by Kathleen McTeague. The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. So it is, everything is the same, bound into its history as we ourselves are bound. What shall we do with this great gift of time, this year? We are the hearts and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people. Let us take the step forward together onto new ground. May it be, and so it is. It says in the order of service that there's a story for all ages, but I don't have a story for you, so we're going to skip right on, and we're going to go into our offering.
And I believe you are providing us accompaniment for our offering, are you not? Yes. Okay. We make an offering for the welfare of this community that is dear to so many of us. We share with the larger community, and it is a sacrament of sorts. It is a necessity, and at the same time, it is a joy. Let's make it a joy for 2023.
Morning, everyone. My name's Chris Edkins, by the way. I don't think I told anybody my name. I'm a member of the worship committee. and have often been chair of the worship committee, as I am currently. Today is January the 1st, 2023, and on January the 1st, 2004, I first came to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. So 19 years ago today was the first time I set foot in this church, and thank you. And it was because of a New Year's resolution, obviously, you know, I'd thought about. I was so grateful. I'd settled here in Knoxville. I'd got a job that I loved, and I was so full of gratitude. I wanted to find a way to give back, and I didn't want to come to I'm not a Christian, so I did not want to come to a Christian church to find some service work. So I looked on the internet and I found Westside, and here I am. I've been here ever since, 19 years. And on that day in 2004, Bill Calhoun, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, is no longer with us, did this service on the Roman god of Janus, who has two heads, one looking back into the past and the other one looking forward into the future, which has been a tradition at Westside ever since. And Bill always used to run that service, and when he was no longer able to do the service, myself and some of the other members of the church have taken over and filled in to keep the tradition going. So we are in a long line of tradition here that goes back further than my time here at the church. It's a wonderful thing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the past and the present and the future, like before, and then what we do is, I'll tell you actually, for the people at home and for the people here, we have a ceremony that we go through where we write down the things that we would like to release going into the new year, that we would like to go out of our lives, and maybe some things that we would like to come into our lives, and then we burn those pieces of paper. So if you are at home and you would like to participate, then you can get some paper and get a pen and be ready to write those things down. We have some little bits of flash paper that I got a couple of years ago when I did this service before COVID. And if there's enough of those pieces of flash paper for everybody, we can use them and burn them on this candle here. Suzanne can hand some of those out, and we got some pencils. And we've also got some regular pieces of paper. If we run out of the flash paper and we want to use the regular paper, I'd ask you just put those in the basket, and we'll go outside and burn those later. The ash kind of tends to get everywhere, and it gets really smoky. It's not good for people with, you know, maybe having breathing difficulties or whatever. So, and we don't want to burn the church down either. So, but we'll burn those immediately after the service outside. If you'd like to use the regular paper, if we run out of the flash paper. But the flash paper just kind of goes up, woof, just like that. It's wonderful. Okay, so while Suzanne's handing those things out, what are some of our problems that we have with the past? You know, we're often admonished to be in the present moment. And of course, you know, our life in many ways is just like an eternal present moment. But we know that we have this saying that those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. So we have this desire, and it's a very human thing, maybe a uniquely human thing, that we have the ability to remember what happened in the past, of course, and to attempt to learn from our mistakes and do something better a second time than we did it the first time. And of course, we often use that, you know, we can practice things and get better at the things we do and remember how we did things in the past, and each time we can do things a little better. But have you ever noticed that this tendency of people to maybe not learn from their past mistakes? Sometimes they will do the same thing over and over and over again that is harmful to them or other people, and no matter how many times we do it or I do it, that sometimes we don't seem to have the ability to learn from our past mistakes. there's something going on there that prevents us from making a change. And I want to maybe suggest a few of those things that might be, and suggest how it might help us as we move into the future, into this new year. There's a couple of things going on, I think. One is that we have an idea of what we think that life is supposed to be. And sometimes that gets in the way of the reality of the way that it actually is. And our desire to see the world in a certain way can sometimes prevent us from making changes in ourselves that will be helpful to us in the future. Let's say we have this idea. I know in UU circles we have a philosophy that says that every person has inherent worth and dignity. And we really try to live that out in our principles. But knowing that everybody has inherent worth and dignity, of course, isn't the same as the idea that everybody is going to behave to us in a certain way that we expect that respects our boundaries. And because in certain ways we're all kind of spiritually sick, right? Everybody is suffering from problems that their parents passed on to them, things in their upbringing, things that they're having every day. They have the same problems as we do, that they have illusions about life and they get disappointed. And sometimes that makes them act out in ways that are not conducive to my peace of mind. They may be inconvenient to me or cause me emotional upset. So we know that even though people have this inherent worth and dignity, that doesn't mean that people are going to behave in a good way all the time. But if we get the mistaken idea that other people ought to behave in a certain way, and that when they don't behave in that way, then obviously there's something wrong with that person. They shouldn't be doing that. We can get into this thing where we give up our responsibility for our own responses to the world and the people in it. And that causes us on many occasions to make mistakes in the way that we behave. Let me give you a couple of examples. You guys probably don't even do this. You're probably so wise you don't do it. It's probably just me. But so I get the idea that if I behave in a certain way, like if I give a gift to somebody or pay them a compliment or I'm nice to them or I will do my job, then the other people will respond in kind and I will somehow get the things that I'm looking for in life. And that often does happen, the world is a wonderful place and it's quite often that things come to us when we least expect them as gifts in life. But having that expectation that if I behave and act in a certain way, that somebody else will give me the things that I want can lead me to a certain amount of disappointment. Because if I don't get the things that I want in a certain way, in a certain time, then I'll be like, well, I did this. It's somebody else's responsibility to give that back to me. And then I'm bent out of shape and I'm having a bad day that day. So we sometimes have these illusions about life, and then that leads us to these disappointments. But we can't change that behaviour. Rather than changing our behaviour and saying, well, you know what, sometimes people are having a bad day. Maybe I need to communicate to somebody else what it is that I want from them, and then they can say yes or no as to whether they're going to provide that. And if they're not going to provide it, then I will look for it elsewhere, or provide it for myself. But instead of doing that, I'm like, they should do this. I did this, they should do that, and I refuse to change or budge. I'm just going to be mad and bent out of shape, but I still carry on making the same mistake of behaving in a certain way, thinking I'm going to get that payback from somebody else. And that's just like one example of how our illusions about the world can kind of prevent us from changing our own behaviour and make us make the same mistakes over and over and over again. There's another thing that I kind of got down here in my notes, which is we have certain views of what we would like to get from life. And we have certain views of what we think society expects us to do. And sometimes those are in conflict with each other. For example, I might think, I've worked very hard all week, at my job for 5 days a week, and at the weekend, I get to do whatever I like and enjoy myself. But perhaps there's certain responsibilities. Maybe, my mother will expect me to phone her and, see how she's doing, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because, I'd rather go out hiking in the mountains or whatever. Or maybe my wife says, oh, there's this job that needs doing, this light fixture needs replacing, and, you need to do that. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because I've worked so hard all week. Now it's the weekend, I get to do what I like, And then, but instead of going off and doing what I want to do and doing my hike, maybe I do stay home and I do the jobs, but then I'm like, this is what I should have been doing, but actually I did this. So we've got a choice to make there. Do I say no and feel guilty about what I didn't do, or do I say yes and then I feel resentful that, I stayed at home and did this job instead of going out? So this plays out, that's a small trivial example, but this kind of plays out in so many ways in our lives where there's this conflict. When we look back on our past, it's like, I could have taken these other opportunities in my life, but I didn't, and I have regrets about those things. Versus, I did these things and, they were great fun at the time, but now I feel guilty about them, or I spent my money when I should have saved it, and now we have this thing where we got these two ideas, competing in our brains, either guilt and shame or regret, that are in conflict with each other, and we get no peace of mind from those things. So that can also cause us to kind of like move backwards and forwards between doing what we think we should do and doing what we really want to do, and then feeling bad either way, based upon what we did. So I've kind of set up the problem, but have I, given a solution? Well, one of the solutions, of course, is to be self-aware. Look at what the things are that are emotionally disturbing us, and we can kind of figure out these patterns that we have in life if we kind of write down some of these things. What is it that's making me miserable? Why did I do this? What did I expect of other people? And then we can kind of get to the bottom of some of these illusions that we have about life. The other thing is to move away from letting other people tell you what you should do, and have an internal set of values that you set for yourself, where you say, I recognize that I'm not always going to get to do the things that I want. Sometimes I'm going to have to do things that are unpleasant, but I decide, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to let anybody else tell me. And when I make a decision that I'm doing the right thing in this particular occasion, I can have peace of mind about it. I do not have to feel guilt or shame because I've done the things that I expect myself to do. And then, like the other people who expect me to do things, well, sometimes they're going to be disappointed, It's a kind of more realistic view of life if we can have these internal values that we create for ourselves and internalize based upon the realities of our life, and then we move forward with those. We can have a little bit more peace of mind over these things. So as we move into the future, we often create these New Year's resolutions at this time of year. We make a decision. I'm going to do X, I'm going to work out more, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to get fit, or I'm going to eat better and lose some weight, or, whatever it is that we do at this time of year. And then, of course, by the end of January, quite often the action that we plan to take has started and fizzled out, and now we kind of feel bad about it. And exactly the same thing applies. When we look back on our past, we have to have reasonable expectations based upon, what have we done in the past. They call it the triumph of hope versus experience. right? We hope that we're going to do this thing, but our experience showed us in the past that we didn't necessarily do it. Again, by having this examination of ourselves and why we get into these patterns of saying, you know, I would really like to do X, but then when it actually comes to taking the action that's required for us to do that, we're like, oh, that's hard. It means me having to sacrifice some time, or like exercise is painful, or I might have to go outside when it's cold, or, you know, and I'd much rather stay in and do these things. And then we kind of feel bad about it, you know, because we can't trust ourselves to set goals for ourselves and then meet them. And that's for me, I know that is a source of some suffering internally, when I think, you know, well, I set this expectation and now I can't meet that expectation. There must be something wrong with me. Though, of course, we know everybody does it. You know, I mean, it's a well-known trope in society that everybody makes New Year's resolutions, but by the end of January, more often than not, they've gone by the board. So I would encourage you, you know, as you're looking toward the future, that, you know, you set goals for yourself that is that are things that you really do want to achieve. You know, that stop and take a little bit of a thought about it. What is it that you think you might get from having exercise? You know, quite often we're trying to meet some kind of societal demand. You know, I want to lose weight because then people will look at me and not think, you know, that I'm overweight, and I won't feel so bad about myself. Or, you know, I want to go on a diet for that reason, and we're looking for this external validation that's going to come to us from the things that we do. And, you know, we don't really, you know, sometimes we don't get it. We don't get that external validation because, you know, when I look at somebody, I'm like, I don't look at them and think, oh, you know, they need to work out more or they need to eat a bit less. I'm just like, you're the person that you are. And when I look at you, I just see what I see when I attach that name to that person. You know, I'm not. So when you make a change thinking it's going to make a change, you know, in everybody else, sometimes you don't get that validation back. And then it's like, oh, well, if I'm not going to get X, it's not going to make me feel better, or I'm not going to get the validation back from people, what's the point? You know, I may as well not do it. So, you know, set your goals for the things that are going to give you the joy that you have in your life. You know, if you want to set the intention that you're going to go outside more into nature, because that's going to give you joy. You know, you get a lot of things as a side benefit from that. You won't be going out exercising because you think you might lose weight. You're just going out because I would love to go out and be outside when the sun's setting or the sun's rising. I can see those beautiful clouds coming in. And as a wonderful side benefit, I get to walk around the neighbourhood and do some exercise. I went through a thing a few years ago where I used to feel a bit depressed when I was sat in the house when the sun was going down and it was getting dark. I'd be thinking to myself, oh my God, another day's gone. I haven't achieved anything, you know, I've just been sat playing a game or something. But if I'd have been doing something else, like doing some housework, I'd be like, oh, I just did this housework and I really meant to relax, you know. So I'd be dissatisfied with what I'd done during the day, and then when the sun was going down, I'd be feeling a bit there. So I did start going outside, and now I'm outside when the sun is setting, and it's been a big help to me. And now, come rain or shine, most days I walk around the neighbourhood twice a day, you know, regardless of the weather, and that's my habit, and I always enjoy it. All my neighbours are like, look at me, and they're like, oh, you're going for your walk, oh, I wish I could do that, you know. I was like, but I can't get myself out, but I love it. It's my habit, and I enjoy it, and so I can continue doing it without any effort of will or problem, because it helps me with something that I was suffering with. So I'm just going to say one more thing about this idea of we got these conflicting things in ourselves where we think we ought to do one thing, but we want to do another. And that can cause all this sort of either guilt, shame or remorse or regret. The Buddhists have this idea, I got this from the Zen mind, beginner's mind. It says, to go 1 mile east is to go 1 mile west. Now, the direction of west implies that there is east. So we might go 1 mile west and we look at the view and we think, oh, that's not a very good view. I really wish I'd have walked 1 mile east. I bet the view would have been a lot nicer over there if I'd have done that. And then, you know, maybe if you'd have walked 1 mile east, you get to there and you're like, oh, well, okay, now I'm in the middle of a warehouse district in a town. That wasn't as nice as I thought it would be either. Now, whatever we do implies that we made a decision to go in a certain direction and do that thing. There's not really much point about having any regrets about that you did this instead of that, you know. They're just two opposite things. I could have done this or I could have done that. Regardless of which of those two things I do, the day has still passed. Another day has come and gone. I won't say it, you know, because it's too depressing. But you know, one of my ideas that was if I did all the right things, you know, then I would find myself in a position where I had far more control over my life than I actually do, and by taking this kind of attitude that, well, whatever I do, the day still passes, time still passes, and I still end up where I was. Anyway, it has helped me to come to the conclusion of I don't have those regrets about the past or the way I spend my time anymore. You know, when I come to the end of the day, I go out, I see the sunset, and I walk around the neighbourhood, and I'm mostly at peace. So on that note, we're going to get into our little things about we write down our past, what we would like to get rid of for the year, and maybe set an intention for the coming year. And then we will come up and burn those things. So I'm going to give you a few minutes just to think and to write things down. When you're ready, when you've written down, if you've got one of the little flash papers, come up and burn it in. Oh, we need for me, and because you don't want to hold that and burn your fingers while you're putting it in the flame. So if you've got one of those pieces of flash paper, when you're ready, just come up and burn it in the flame. If you've got a regular piece of paper, just put it in the basket. We'll take it outside and we'll burn it afterwards. Everybody's got flash paper? Oh, good. Okay, excellent. Yeah, sorry, I've got this candle in the middle.
Getting your flute out, I wanted to add, I've been coming for, I now figured 35 years. My second time being here was our first minister, Reverend Dillman Sorrells, doing this ritual. So it goes back. Apparently she brought it with her when she was the first minister. Apparently she brought it to the congregation. And I came specifically for that. Good reason.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks, Suzanne. like a peaceful feeling. Our closing hymn is in the Teal hymnal. It's number 111. And it's a short song that can be sung as a round, but we'll just sing it in unison today. Let's not do anything too complicated. I'll sing it through if you like, so you can get the idea, and then we'll sing it through 4 times together. It's only short. So I don't read music, so I may get it slightly wrong, but if you follow me, you won't be wrong. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to where you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. As our service draws to a close for today, we will extinguish the chalice, but we will not extinguish the love and light that it represents. Those we will carry out into the world with us, to be a light to all in our society. May it be so. Go in peace.